Hello, everybody. Welcome to NFL Points, Picks, and Props. The three of us here to give you all of the latest sports betting news regarding the NFL. I am Kyle Garlett. I'm in Denver, Colorado. He's Tommy Burch. He is in Springfield, Massachusetts. And down there at the bottom of your screen is Ben O'Connell. He is in Chicago, Illinois. Actually, I am mistaken. I am not in Denver, Colorado right now. I happen to be in a hotel in Detroit, Michigan, but heading back to Denver here in a couple of days. So, gentlemen, we have one more football game to be played. 272 regular season games. We've now played 12 postseason games. One game remains. It is the Super Bowl. But of course, before that, the real game that we've all been caring about, the game we've been looking forward to all year, the Pro Bowl games. But look, before we were recording this here on a Thursday, February 1st. I was down at the hotel bar watching a little bit of this nonsense. So one of the things is like, how many balls can you catch? How many can you have in your hands while you're catching a punt? And the guy who won had like 6 balls in his hand. It's like a carnival midway game. What the hell is this? This is not football. Can we just go back to sending guys out to Hawaii and playing a game, even though nobody played defense? It was still fun. This isn't fun. What's happening with this? Why is this on my TV?
And the worst part is you go on any social media page and then you see the clip of like Jeff Saturday running on to take a snap for the AFC so he can it's so sad how we went from that to like trick shot competitions. Like the only thing I love about the Pro Bowl is the field goal kicking tic-tac-toe. That's really cool. I think that's awesome.
I think you guys are sorry, keep going.
But there's like the dodgeball is like okay, but like wouldn't you rather watch these like top high level athletes compete in a game versus playing dodgeball? Like I could get some of the games being fun, but like that's like end off the weekend with that, you know?
Are you kidding me? Dodgeball is that is the creme de la creme of every. Listen, name an age in life or a period in life, Tommy, where the words dodgeball didn't get you just hyped out of your mind. All right, like instinctually, even third graders understand this concept. Now, I propose that perhaps we're still too focused on the athletics. Even here's my proposal: we get the offensive linemen from each side to play paintball. Right? Wouldn't you like to see that? Right?
You're so big.
Hey, that's the point, dude. I think that would be awesome. I want to see how fast they can really move, and that's a great motivator, right? So I propose paintball for the next Pro Bowl, right?
Oh, the winning offensive lineman group gets like a lifetime or a year-long supply of like McDonald's.
Well, look, I love all things football, so if it's on my TV, I'm going to probably watch it, but I'm going to be annoyed. Like back in the day, All-Star Weekend for the baseball, they would have like hitting competitions where you hit the ball in specific spots. You'd have a hit the cutoff man competition. You'd have a catcher throwing down a second base competition. You still, though, had the game. It didn't replace the game. And this is now like what we're having a flag football game on Sunday. That's the actual game. And you don't want to get guys hurt, but I mean, nobody was really tackling anybody anyway. I don't know. I mean, I'll watch the Senior Bowl probably more than I'll care about the Pro Bowl. And that's the same kind of thing where it's just dudes just kind of doing their thing. But anyway, I don't know what we just watched 2 really good football games in the championship games. We were treated to great games that came down to final possessions. And now we've got a clown show. That's what bothers me. But watch it because it's football. Don't bet on it though because it's nonsense. All right, that's my opinion on it. Gentlemen, the last of our head coaching vacancies has been filled. So Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens, he is now the head coach in Seattle, and the Washington Commanders going after. I mean, they robbing the division, so I guess that feels good. But Ben, as you said, do the Commanders even need a head coach? They just, they just roll the guys out there on the field, and I mean, is Dan Quinn going to do anything in Washington, or is he just going to stand there and watch these guys suck?
Probably just watch them suck. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, that's kind of what happened in that one Super Bowl or whatever, right? In the second half, anyway. I just don't know. I it, it makes sense, I think, for Washington because it is, in a sense, a move up. But then again, everything's a move up from from a gutless Ron Rivera. So what are we talking about? I don't think Belichick would have wanted to go there. I don't think Vrabel would have wanted to go there. I don't know if they necessarily have the pulling power to go after some of these top coaches who will probably
Yeah,
go the McCarthy and Sean Payton route of just chilling out for a season and then re-entering the scene once we all kind of forget about how bad this year was for them. So I it makes sense you have to find yourself a coach, and it's not really a job that anyone's ever going to want. But yeah, I don't know why Dan Quinn would take it. Like that's part of it for me. I mean, just kind of keep rolling in Dallas with what they have going right now. I think would be my move if I were them, instead of having to go to Washington. Ugh, just go
yeah.
FedEx Field every week.
So Tommy, now that we've got all of our positions filled, is there what's your favorite of the hirings?
My favorite of the hirings. That's a tough one. I think Mike McDonald is a good hire. He's proven, like building that defense and having a linebacker group that we haven't seen. Like we haven't seen a linebacker group that good outside in the AFC in a while, at least. Like I
Yeah,
know that in the NFC there's been a couple pretty good linebacker groups, but like Mike McDonald was a great hire. Um, I'm not as against Dan Quinn's hire as you guys are. I think he has been quite a good coordinator for Dallas. He kind of found his area and like his expertise, and I think now going back to that coordinator and coming back into a head coaching role, especially like in a position where I think there's like you can't go worse than Ron Rivera. I think Dan Quinn is going to do better than he did, and the team has talented players. They just got to figure it out. Like they got to get somebody who can huck the ball. They get somebody who can throw the ball at a serviceable level, and they should be fine. I mean, Taylor Heineke got this team to what, a winning record? Like, come
yeah.
on. Like I could see this team doing okay. And I think it's all front office and Ron Rivera's fault that it didn't go okay. So I actually am kind of okay with that. But I'd say for right now, I'd say Mike McDonald's my favorite hire, but I'm also a little bit biased towards really good defensive coordinators doing well in a head coaching position.
I think my favorite hire. It's not a head coaching hire. My favorite coordinator hire. Arthur Smith to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's gone from Desmond Ritter to
Oh
Kenny
God!
Pickett. That is what a lateral move that is for
No,
both teams.
oh yeah,
The
Matt
return of Matt
Canada.
Canada.
Yeah,
I'm
Kenny
sorry,
Pickett.
Steelers fans. Yeah, it's
Yeah, George Pickens is never getting the ball.
no,
Like
no,
never getting the
no.
ball. And Pat Fryermuth, you had an off
Yeah,
year. Now you're just going to be out of the league.
yeah.
Like
No, and it's not going to be Najee Harris or Warren either. They're going to bring some third running back in, and he's going to get like 15 carries a game. Yeah,
And
it's
they're
absurd.
still somehow going to have a winning season.
They're
I
gonna
know,
they're gonna
right?
finish
Like,
nine. They'll be 9-8. Yeah, and they'll be right there for a wild card spot in the
well,
last three.
as long as TJ Watt is healthy, that team is going to win 9 games.
Yes,
Because
yes.
what's their record when TJ Watt isn't playing? It's like a ridiculously low record.
It's not good. It's not
And then
great.
they
Yeah.
have a very nice record when he does play. I've never seen somebody that has so much of an impact on a team's performance on defense. Like, yeah, quarterbacks, I could see it, like a really trash team having a good quarterback. But on defense, man, like what kind of defensive player carries you?
Yeah.
Like, because in the NFL, this day and age of the NFL, scoring points is how you you need to score points. You can't win off of stopping people from scoring points. The Patriots learned that the hard way. But somehow TJ Watt just defies the laws of physics and football. That guy is a freak.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Arthur Smith gets to be the coach when Derrick Henry is your running back. Derrick Henry is a stud. And so suddenly Arthur Smith now has this entire career as a coach because of Derrick Henry. He's got a head coach. He's gonna be a coach for the next 10 years because everybody's gonna look back and say, "Oh, remember though when he was in Tennessee? Well, yeah, because he had Derrick Henry." So anyway, I love it for the Steelers, and I, again, apologies to Steelers fans because I know the pain you're in for next season.
What are you apologizing to Steelers fans for?
Eh,
They're like a
I
top
mean,
5 worst fan base in football.
but they're going to find themselves at the bottom of the NFC or the AFC North. I mean, Joe Burrow's going to be back, so the Bengals aren't going to be in last place. The Ravens are good. Well, I don't know. Deshaun Watson will sink the Browns, so that's fine.
Do I really feel bad?
I mean, bad's maybe the wrong word, but I mean, look, to have to sit there and watch Kenny Pickett for a third year, I mean, that's kind of cruel and unusual punishment, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
dude, and
sad.
they had to
'cause-
watch him in college. Are you kidding?
Yeah. He's been in Pittsburgh forever. Yeah, those poor people in Western Pennsylvania are tired of Kenny Pickett.
And which is so sad because those Pittsburgh folk, he's a hometown kid. He literally just went across the facility, and it worked out so horribly. I wish he was good.
Yeah.
I wish he was okay.
All
Another
the love
Teddy
to the
Bridgewater.
Yancers.
Teddy Bridgewater was better than him. What am I talking about? They just have the same two glove style of play.
All right. So we had a couple games last week. We told everybody how to bet on those games because we are experts on this. So let's go back and see how we did. All right. The first game on Sunday was the AFC Championship game. We all picked the Chiefs to cover that 3.5 point spread, which actually got to 5 by the time the kickoff rolled around. Turned out it did not belong at 5. The Chiefs not only covered the spread, they won that game outright. We all hit that. If you paid attention to us on the Chiefs and Ravens game, you were a winner. Definitely
Patriot,
should have
baby.
gone with the Kansas City Chiefs in that game. Our prop bets. Well, how did we do? Let's take a look. Tommy got his. You cleared your prop early. Kelsey and Pacheco got touchdowns in that first quarter there. You were skating after the Chiefs' first 2 drives. You had already won that one. Yeah, Baltimore was not the first to score. They did not win the first half money line, but it doesn't matter. You hit that 3 plus 345 on that double touchdown. Big W for you. Drinks were on you after the first game. Ben O'Connell, how do you think you did? Yeah.
I don't think I did great.
No, I wouldn't call that great. And look, Lamar Jackson, they stopped running him. Yeah, he was fantastic against the Texans. The Chiefs had just given up a big day on the ground to Josh Allen, and for whatever reason, Jackson just did not run as much as he should have. So no touchdown there. And then Patrick Mahomes, he got up to 241 yards.
Yes, close.
Close, very close, but did not happen. And how do you guys think that I did in that game? Yeah. Again, Lamar Jackson came up 12 yards short. I hit Mahomes and I hit Kelsey, but Jackson stuck at 52 yards. Didn't get it for me. I got Watson. He got his yardage. Aguilar got his yardage, but Noah Gray, 8 yards. He was 3 yards short. So I missed that plus 500 by 3 yards. So overall, I mean, we all got the pick right, which was a big deal. And then Tommy, of course, cleaned up on the props. Let's talk about this game real quick. The Ravens, 81 yards rushing. They were the best rushing team in the league. 81 yards rushing. They did not try to run the ball. They were never behind in this game by more than 10 points. I saw somebody today. They never behind by more than 10 points, but they played like they were behind by 30 points. It was Lamar dropping back to pass all the time. They did not try to run the ball. And if you know anything about the Chiefs defense, they're really great in the secondary. They're good at stopping the pass. They are vulnerable against the run. And the Ravens didn't try to do it. What happened?
No, you know what? It was very upsetting, especially because the Ravens' offensive line is so good. Uh, and there was multiple times during that game where Lamar dropped back in the pocket and he sat in the pocket for so long and got no pressure. He was waiting, like he was just sitting there looking. And obviously, like the Chiefs' defensive back room is significantly better because one of their weaknesses in the past couple of years was their defense. Now the defensive back room is great. L'Jarius Sneed is incredible, but he's sitting there waiting for something to happen, and it's 6 seconds. The average like time to pressure in football is 2.7 seconds or something along those lines. Like Lamar Jackson would legitimately sit in the pocket. He'd step up to the line of scrimmage with clear open field in front of him, but he'd stay behind the line of scrimmage and try and force a pass. Like, I don't know if the coaching staff told him not to do that or if it was in the script or something. And I've never been one to make jokes about the script, but this game felt scripted because Lamar Jackson just was not running the ball on scrambles. Like he was only running the ball when it was he was supposed to. Like it was a designated quarterback run play or an option. Like it was I got so mad watching that game because I hate to think that it was his fault, but it has to have been a coaching thing. You know, like the coaches are probably like telling him like you can't run right now. We need to, get out of bounds, get the ball further upfield, something. I don't want to put it on Lamar, but it's really hard not to.
But they weren't even like Gus Edwards gets the football. His first carry of the game runs for 15 yards. He does not get another carry the entire first half. What I mean, that's not Lamar.
They played scared.
I didn't understand it.
Well, for me, it was very reminiscent. You guys know that I'm a big fight fan, big combat sports fan. To me, this looked like a challenger trying in a title fight, fighting for the belt and feeling like they didn't belong in the ring with the champion. And we see this happen all the time. Someone who on paper very much deserves to be there. Someone who can match them on every level, right? But there's something about being the champ that just makes you feel better. It makes you feel like the best team, whether in reality you are or are not, right? And what it looked like was that the Baltimore Ravens had not been in that situation before, and that the Chiefs had been there for the past, 6 years, right? Like, this was the first AFC championship since 2011 to not be hosted in New England, Denver, or Kansas City. Some dumb,
Yeah.
obscure fact like that. Like, the Chiefs make their money in this in the playoffs. This is where they make their bread and butter. It is insane at the level that they execute. And you see one thing go right for them, and it's easy to just think that you are out of it. You try to just keep it close. And the Ravens looked like a team that were just trying to keep it close all game, but never trying to take the lead.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say other than you just gotta man up at some point and just be like, hey, we're supposed to be here too. That is half of football. And yeah, no, it was a little disappointing. I think to say like I felt like we did not get the matchup we were promised, and it kind of just felt like Baltimore probably left, had a little bit more to give, and at the end of the day, and yeah, hats off to the Chiefs, obviously. Great win from them. I mean, just keeping it steady, great defense throughout. But yeah, I don't want to discredit the Chiefs' performance by any means, but yeah, the Ravens' performance just felt flat.
Yeah, no, I think the way you sum it up, yeah, it's the Ravens were playing as though they were this massive underdog that had to be different than they normally were in order to win the game. And all they really needed to do was just be the same team that was the number one seed, be the same team that had just kicked everybody's ass on the way to that championship game. And instead they changed their identity for no reason at all. They did not need to do that. And it cost them. Obviously, the McDonald's defense did a great job of adjusting at halftime, and they shut down Kansas City in the second half, but they got no help from that offense. And that's the final result. They can sit there and, getting to the AFC Championship game, getting to host the AFC Championship game. This is the first time that's ever happened in Baltimore. Since the Ravens have been around. That happened back with the Baltimore Colts back in the 1971. Doesn't happen very often. When you have that chance, you gotta hit on it. And they just did not rise to the moment. It was disappointing because that should have been a classic game. It should have been we're coming down to Lamar and Patrick going back and forth, and it wasn't that at all. A little disappointing. The other game in the evening on Saturday took place in Santa Clara. We all picked the Detroit Lions because they were getting a touchdown, not because we were all picking the Lions to win. Tommy will be very quick to tell you he was not picking the Lions to win.
Never.
But he did think that the Lions would cover, and lo and behold, the Lions did cover, and we all hit that bet as well. So we were 2 for 2 on our game bets on Sunday. Prop bets, not as good as the first time around. Tommy again, he nailed when Jake Moody missed an early field goal. We thought, but
I was sweating.
He got it. He got his 2 in. McCaffrey, of course, is as good as he scores all the time. And then Goff, you got a 4-legger here, and you hit it. Now, granted, it wasn't a huge payday, but so what? You got these 2 bets. You got a plus 300 out of the deal. So good on you there. That was a nice. I mean, you won the game, and you got your 2 props. So that evening game, and your team advanced. Most important thing.
Wonderful. I was sweating the whole.
That
game.
was a perfect evening for Tommy there.
Perfect.
Ben?
I mean, perfect. It was a strong word because we were down by like 20. But
you won the game, and you won your bet because the Lions covered, and you won your 2 props. I mean,
3-0 is nice.
4-0 because I'm giving you the 49ers win too. I mean,
take it 4-0.
Super Bowl.
All of the above.
This guy's complaining about being in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
he's just complaining about the way they got there. Oh my goodness!
No, I'm blocked by the players when I'm sitting here in the front row. Okay, enough with your little humble brag. Yeah, you did all right. All right, Ben. Jared Goff, 1 touchdown pass, did not make it to 2. That didn't happen. But of course, McCaffrey anytime TD, Jahmyr Gibbs anytime TD, that did hit. So well done there. Man, it was so close on this one. McCaffrey was the one who let me down here. He did not get his receiving yards. But Lions over 20.5 points, over 2.5 TDs, and McCaffrey anytime touchdown. That did hit for me. So we all did pretty well over the weekend. Let's go ahead and check out where we stand. So now overall against the spread for the playoffs, I am 8-4. I lead that, and I will not be caught because there's only the 1 game left. But Tommy pulled himself. He was negative 380 going into the weekend. He is now up $165. So quite the turnaround. He is now in the game, no longer dead, has a chance to win. Excuse me. Ben and I are just $30 apart after the championship weekend. Obviously, lots of props will be coming your way next week when we do the Super Bowl preview, and that will determine our prop winner. In terms of our playoff picks, well, Tommy has taken that thanks to the Kansas City Chiefs, racking up a total of 15 points for him. Had the Lions won, he and I would be tied, but the Lions did not win, and therefore Tommy has wrapped this up. No one can catch him, certainly not Ben. But Well done, Tommy. You are the playoff pool total points champion. While I cough and
I'd like to
die over
thank my
here,
mom.
talk about the Lions and 49ers game.
Lions 49ers. It was. I mean, from a fan standpoint, it was terrifying. Getting blown out. Not a single thing was working. The pick by Brock when he got high five when he was throwing the ball. You know, it's just. But I'm glad we won. But from an analyst and sports betting standpoint, I mean, even just as a fan of football, as much as everybody wanted the Lions to win, I'm the only person in this call that wanted that wanted the Niners to win. It was an incredible football game. I mean, that's the kind of like playoff football, especially in the championship game, that you want. It wasn't like the Chiefs Ravens game where it's coming down, like it's not even coming down to the wire. It's just, kind of
Yeah.
boring to an extent. Like, no disrespect, but the Niners and Lions game was just exciting throughout. There was always something happening. But I will say, not taking that field goal, uh, I've seen a lot of flack on the internet for Dan Campbell. Everybody switched up on him, told him to take the field goal, whatever, right? I got a mixed bag on it. I understand you lost and everything is clear in hindsight. However, as we were talking about with the Ravens before, they changed how they played football and they lost pretty substantially. Like it didn't feel like a
Mhm.
close game at all. Dan Campbell played the same kind of football during that game that he did the entire season to get him to that point. He took a Lions team that was one of the bottom teams in the league and in 2 years brought it up to an NFC championship. He played the same style of football he did all season to get to this point. You don't just switch up now because it's the championship game. You got there with this style. You have to continue playing with that style. So he was consistent, which is something that a lot of coaches need in the NFL. So as much as he did lose, and maybe most coaches in the NFL are taking that field goal, I'm not gonna get on him about it just because that was how he played. That's how he coached, and I don't think anybody in that locker room is doubting his decision making. Everybody in there thought that was the right decision, and all of them were
Yeah.
supporting him on that fourth down conversion.
Well, and he doesn't have Justin Tucker as his kicker. His kicker was less than 50% from 48 yards and beyond. These were not gimme field goals that he was giving up. And that first fourth down, the pass hit the receiver in the hands. It should have been a first down. Yeah, and like I said, Dan Campbell got his team to the NFC Championship game because he was aggressive. You don't suddenly play scared because you're in the NFC Championship game and expect to win on the road. And unlike the Ravens, who were the favorites, were at home, and all they just needed to do was hold serve, the Lions were the road team. They were the heavy underdog. They were playing the number one seed. You don't win games like that by just taking field goals. And yeah, I have no problem with what Dan Campbell did. The fact is Jahmyr Gibbs doesn't fumble. The Lions win. You can look back at a lot of different things that didn't go right for the Lions, drop passes. Um, you know, there's a lot being made about the pass off of the head of the Lions defender that then was caught by well, that was pass interference anyway. They would have had the ball at first and goal to 5. So it wasn't like that was a game changer. But those kind of things, but to your point, that there was always something fun going on. That was one of the fun plays. That Jameson Williams touchdown run, that was a fun play. Gibbs's touchdown run, a fun play. I mean, there was a lot of fun things going on in that game. It was a truly entertaining game. I'm back here in Detroit though, and everybody here, man, they thought they had it. They at halftime they were. I was talking to a guy today. He's like, I was immediately calling to make a reservation for Las Vegas at halftime. We were finally going. I didn't care how much it was going to cost me. It was going to go. And then they had their heart tripped out of them in the second half. But not Dan Campbell's fault. The fact is the 49ers are a pretty goddamn good team. They erased that lead in like 8 minutes because they're a pretty goddamn good team. And
Very Chiefs
we all,
best comeback, to be honest with you. Very,
yeah, I mean,
very
we
Chiefs game.
this is the 49ers are exactly where we thought they would be 4 months ago. We thought after watching them in week 1 that they would be in the Super Bowl, and here they are.
This is the only fan base I'm going to feel bad for. Like, if it was any other team in the NFC Championship, I would be like, "Oh, don't care. We're going to the bowl." It's the Lions, man. So, like, I do feel bad. Like, a part of me is a little upset that they couldn't make it, but not a big one.
Yeah.
You know, really quickly, just to go and touch. Personally, if I have a shot to tie it and kind of just break up the Niners' momentum at any point in that half, I think from a coaching perspective, I do that. That's what I do. I'm also not the head coach of the Detroit Lions. There's a reason for that. Okay, like I see it both ways. I am very it's harder. It's harder to say be aggressive when you could conceivably tie. And I think that I am all for going for it if it's a tie game and you're looking for the lead. It's a different. It's not playing scared to go for a tie. It's still preserving your life in the game, right? Like at the very, you at least have to make them go score, find an answer. But you're looking at overtime at that point. That's not playing scared if you are losing, right? And if it was a tie game and they went for a field goal, I would criticize that, right? I'd say go for it. You've been going for it for all season. It's the fact that they were just down and could conceivably continue their life in the game. I understand the questioning from that. Uh, but at the end of the day, uh, hell of a season to Detroit. Hell of a season. I woke up the next day just a tiny bit sad that the Chiefs Detroit Lions money line parlay that I had set did not work out. I was a little upset by that, I will not lie. I was spending money I did not have. I did have to refund NBA League Pass. It's no big deal. I don't like basketball. But I wanted to preserve my mental state that morning. And I wrote the city of Detroit a letter here in my notebook here. And I would like to share it with you gentlemen here.
I would love to hear it, Ben. This is very intimate.
uh, well, Snoil Nation, we were close. We were close. Genuinely, y'all should have won. But that's not for here or there, all right? That's on you, all right? That's 100% on you, but we don't have to talk about that right now. And on behalf of myself and America, I would like to thank you for the most exciting contribution to sports since Wichita's own Barry Sanders. Thank you, Detroit Lions, for an excellent season filled with amazing high and low lows. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, you're still fucking losers, and you still got no Super Bowls. Better luck next year. We'll see you next year, Snoils Nation. We'll see you there. I wish it was different. I wish it was different. I wish it was.
So after everything you said about the Snoil, and you just say, "Yeah, you're
I
all
love 'em.
losers."
I love them. I
Send
love
your
them.
emails directly to Ben. Do not email the show. They go directly to Ben. Yeah.
Please,
They don't-
yeah, do
you-
not
you-
contact me because
Not all of the views expressed on this show represent the views of all of the people on this show. Just FYI.
If you aren't first, you're last. I don't know what to say.
yeah, the Broncos fan has so
Look.
many rights to speak on that.
Oh, got 3 of them, and they got 0.
Two of the
It's
most
fine.
exciting offensive rookies in Jameer Gibbs and Laporta. You've got a lot of reasons to be excited about this
Brian
team.
Branch.
Brian Branch. Fun fact. Again, watching the Pro Bowl games tonight, Baker Mayfield said in an interview, well, the last pass I threw was a completion to Brian Branch. So I thought that was kind of funny out of Baker. There's a lot to like about the Detroit Lions team. You'll be back. Be a tough division because Jordan Love's pretty good. The Packers are going to be good. Bears are still going to be the Bears. Don't you worry about them.
Caleb
Vikings
Williams.
probably Kirk Cousins is going to be playing down in Atlanta. so you don't have to worry about the Vikings. But yeah, it'll be fun.
That was like that almost was like you put like poured magma into my ears when you said that.
Wow.
God, that's Atlanta is where quarterbacks go to die at this point. It's
No, but
terrible.
that's because Arthur Smith was there. He's gone now.
I mean,
So
oh yeah, I mean, hey, I think it'd be pretty enticing with all those weapons they got down there.
Dave Canale, he resurrected the life of Baker Mayfield. He's now going to be in Atlanta. Bring him Kirk.
Isn't he Carolina?
Did he go to Carolina? Who the hell did sign with Atlanta then? Yeah, you're right. Dave Canale did go to Carolina. Who's the Atlanta coach? God damn
Who
it.
is the Atlanta coach?
I should know this.
It's off the top of my tongue.
Oh, well. We'll figure it out.
Raheem Morris.
We like Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris is great. Although he's not a quarterback whisperer, but still. Have they hired an OC there yet? I don't know. Raheem Morris. I like Raheem Morris. He's going to be good. Definitely, everybody raves about him. They love him as a leader. So we'll see.
We like.
Okay,
that.
then where do you want Kirk to go? Where should Kirk go? Maybe Kirk goes to Denver.
No, please.
Send him to Denver.
Please, no.
Send Kirk Cousins to Denver.
No, we're gonna draft somebody. It's gonna be okay. We don't need another veteran. They don't like us there. You want to talk about where you want to go? You want to talk about where quarterbacks go to end their career? Come on now, no prime example like Denver. Hello.
I've done enough talking about those Broncos. So I was trying to be nice this time around. But
what's it like to still care about these games, huh? What's it like to have a team still playing?
hey, you know what? I don't care about anything except for the fact that the Nickelodeon broadcast is gonna have "Sweet Victory" before the game by SpongeBob. And if any of you know how impactful that is, it is life-changing. The song, they're actually performing it before the game starts. Not like the fake Super Bowl halftime show where they said they were going to, and they played like 5 seconds of it, and then they didn't.
None of this means anything to me. What are you talking about? Who's Sweet
Gen
Victory?
Z rage.
Sweet victory. Yeah. You guys don't know this? Oh, wow.
I do. But, like, I want you to know. Like, I get why you're very hyped about this. It's just... I don't even know how to put it into words, dude.
I don't know.
I'm alone. I'm alone on this show. One day, Kyle. One day you'll understand. Once you see the broadcast. I mean, you're not watching the Nickelodeon broadcast.
No, I'm not watching the Nickelodeon broadcast.
But you will probably see it on Twitter at some point because
All right, I'll look for that.
You're a consistent Twitter regular. So
sweet victory. All right, I'll look for that. I look forward to it.
It's wonderful. It's like it was life changing.
The only songs that matter on Sunday are those by Taylor Swift.
Oh, stop.
Oh yeah, I saw a clip. I saw it.
Ben, shake it off. Shake it off, Ben.
I can't, dude. I can't.
When Taylor and Travis were talking to each other after the game, hugging each other, there was what it sounded like she said in the microphone was pretty explicit. Like it sounded like pretty bad. Like she was saying some nasty stuff to him. But
bad or good?
Good for him.
Sounds pretty good. Yeah. You just won. You just won the AFC Championship game. What are you going to do now? I'm going off to the hotel with her.
What she said to him, what it sounded like, just sounded pretty. Hey, good on them. Like good for them. It was just it kind of caught me off guard. I've never seen Miss Swift in that way.
This is a judgment-free zone.
Yep.
What people do in the bedroom is their business.
It's all for them,
Yep. All right. Hey, there are going to be some postseason awards between now and the Super Bowl. They're going to be given to some NFL players who have earned those. Shall we talk about those awards that are coming up here next week?
Yes, we absolutely should.
NFL honors.
I get to brag, even though you got on me.
I didn't get on you. I just was trying to steal your thunder.
Yeah, so mean.
All right, here we go. This is who we all believe should win the Most Valuable Player award. Some reason the name Christian McCaffrey is appearing under the picture of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is actually the pick, not Christian McCaffrey. So don't be confused. Christian McCaffrey is the guy underneath Ben and myself. So my quick thought is that Christian McCaffrey is the most consequential offensive player in football. The 49ers are where they are. No, look, it's not that Lamar Jackson's not the reason the Ravens are in first place also. But I think that Christian McCaffrey is the engine of the best team in football. And that's why I have chosen Christian McCaffrey as my should win the MVP. And Tommy, you picked Lamar Jackson 4 months ago. You're sticking with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I agree that Christian McCaffrey is what makes the Niners offense run, it's also difficult to me because the Niners are so well-rounded and talented in so many different regards that obviously Christian McCaffrey is one of the biggest reasons why they're there. But they also, they had the same weapons on offense all around in 2020, except they had Raheem Mostert at running back, and I think Elijah Mitchell was still there. Matt Breida was there. I'm pretty sure at that point, and those guys, they still made it to the Super Bowl. I think with Christian McCaffrey, they could win it. I think Christian McCaffrey is the best non-quarterback in the league, one of the best players in the league. But I think Lamar's impact on a roster that objectively had less talent, even from a receiving standpoint. I mean, Zay Flowers was very good this season, but it doesn't compare to a Brandon Ayuk or a Deebo Samuel. And OBJ, he was pretty good. Like, he wasn't washed, but it wasn't the Super Bowl like first half that we saw from him when he was on the Rams. I think that Lamar Jackson did more with less. That's why I think Lamar Jackson deserves, like Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins and those guys in the running back room. They would not be able to succeed without Lamar Jackson. The run game and the pass game both heavily benefited from him, as well as it did for Christian. I think it's very close, but I'm kind of giving Lamar the edge just because he kind of stood up so much further above than the rest of his offense.
I like CMC here. And I just really quickly, I just think that it's very rare that you see a non-quarterback that is more valuable than the quarterback in the offense. And when that happens, I think that we ought to take notice and that we ought to reward that behavior. We don't, because this is not the MVP award. This is an MVQ, let's be honest. But at the end of the day, dude, he's just so important to that offense, and I think that he makes Brock Purdy look good. So yeah, I'll die on that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's who we think should win the award. Who we think will win the award? Well, we all agree that Lamar Jackson is going to win the award. I think the last odds I saw were like minus 20,000. So probably not worth you putting any money down on Lamar at this point. Hopefully, though, back in August when Tommy predicted the Lamar Jackson win, that you did put some money down on him. I think at that point he was plus 1,500. So if you threw down a C note on Lamar, he has paid off. I think we all agree that he is going to win that award pretty easily. Not much doubt as to who is going to be the MVP. Offensive Player of the Year. Well, we all just raved about Christian McCaffrey. He is the best non-quarterback in the league, and we all think that he should be the Offensive Player of the Year. And we all think he will be the Offensive Player of the Year.
Can I quickly just oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. You want to? You didn't say enough about Christian McCaffrey. That's fine. You can go ahead and talk more about it.
It pertains to the Offensive Player of the Year specifically. If he does win the Offensive Player of the Year, that's another reason why I don't think he would win MVP. I don't really think they're going to go hand both awards to him. And who else is going to win Offensive Player of the Year? Offensive Player of the Year is the MVP for non-quarterbacks a lot of the time. So I feel like they're going to give that to him, and they kind of are like they're going to have to give the MVP to Lamar because in what world can we even possibly imagine that they give both to Christian McCaffrey? it doesn't really make sense in the minds of like probably Roger Goodell.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why we all agree that this is what will happen. It's but yeah, no, I mean McCaffrey is absolutely deserving of this. You could have made a case for Tyreek Hill as we went in December, but he dropped off, whereas McCaffrey played some of his best football in those most important games of the year. And the consistency from week 1 to week 17, McCaffrey was the same player always. Whereas you had some games where Tyreek was up and down. Christian McCaffrey was always there, always the center of that offense, and always absolutely fantastic. Really, I think he's one of the best the most impactful non-quarterback that we've seen in years in the NFL. Just really, and he does it all. He does it all. He could be a full-time wide receiver, and he would be 1,000-yard receiver. He could just run the football, and he'd be a 2,000-yard rusher. He does it all, though. So he's fantastic. It's going to be sad to watch him get shut down. His upcoming 3 fumble performance in the Super Bowl is going to be. That's why we're making these picks now, because if we wait until after the Super Bowl, we'd all say, "Oh no, McCaffrey shouldn't even be top 5." But we're making these picks now before he fumbles the ball 3 times and commits a terrible personal foul that gets him ejected from the game.
Kyle, you're going to talk yourself into an edit on this show after the game.
I am the one who controls the video, the hard drive. So we'll see.
I can present my screen.
All right, moving on to the defensive player of the year. We have a little bit of a conversation here. So Tommy and I both think that TJ Watt should be the defensive player of the year. He did lead the NFL in sacks, and Tommy, you were raving about how he really is what makes the Pittsburgh Steelers work. Ben O'Connell is a Max Crosby fan. And to be fair, I think we probably all appreciate Max Crosby for what he does. Plays on a terrible team, and yet his motor continues to run at 150% all the time. Great player. But right now, Tommy and I are on the TJ Watt bandwagon. Ben, give me your little sales pitch on Max Crosby.
Well, and I put this as my should win just because I wanted to give him a nice little shout out here. And what a guy, right? Like I hate the Raiders. I think that everyone knows that but the guy's a football player. The dude is a dude, and he was playing hard all season with an offense that was god awful, and contributed largely, down the stretch in those, late, last 6 games when it really didn't matter. But was just had a consistent motor. Like he had a combined 10 tackles December 10th against the Vikings. Like just stupid performances like that where you're like, dude, why do you care so much right now? Like that's what I like out of a football player. I don't think he's gonna win. I'm not even 100% sure if he should win, but if you want to know the definition of a football player and the kind of dude that I would want on my defense 100% of the time, it's this dude. I like Max Crosby despite the team that he plays for. Just want to give him a little shout out on the show.
He's definitely the most, I would say he's one of the most like impactful defensive players in the league. I obviously, like, I picked my pick and I'm going to stick by it. But when it comes to like a guy who changes and sets a culture, like you don't really see a defensive line position that has that level of leadership on a team. And he is the quarterback of the Raiders. He's their spokesperson. And I find that I love that. I love that I love him as a player. And his story is wonderful.
He's the guy who goes to Mark Davis and says, if you don't hire Antonio Pierce as our head coach, I'm demanding a trade. Within 24 hours, Antonio Pierce is the head coach. So they know where Max Crosby stands in the Raiders franchise there. He's the leader of that entire franchise. All right. That's who should win. Who will win? Well, we are still split on this. I am still going to roll with T.J. Watt. I do believe that the voters, because of the sacks, because of I mean, he had the interception as well this year. He's a great all around defender. Obviously, Miles Garrett's fantastic. You guys have both gone with Miles Garrett to win. He is the favorite. There's no question about it that he is deserving. I mean, we're not talking about anybody in these conversations of players who aren't deserving. They all are finalists. They all deserve to be here. And Miles Garrett is a game changer. Defensively, he wasn't as impactful as the season got down to the wire, which is why I'm giving the nod to Watt. But man, if you had to choose between one of these guys, there's no losers. They're both fantastic football players.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that TJ Watt is a better player than Miles Garrett. I realistically think that that Miles Garrett should not be the favorite. And the fact that he's even ahead of like Micah Parsons sometimes makes me a little bit off. Like Miles Garrett is an incredible football player. I love him as a player, but he had the blessing of having one of the best defensive like he was on one of the best defensive schemes in football, and he had some of the best defensive backs in football for the majority of the season. When you get that much time to get to the passer, you're gonna get sacks. And that doesn't even like the Steelers, like, yeah, the Steelers had a great defense, but TJ Watt had what, 5 more sacks than him? And the Browns for almost the entire season were considered the best defense in football. And with the best
Yeah.
defensive back room, like, and Miles Garrett is still getting 5 less sacks than TJ. And TJ, I don't understand how he could even be in the conversation for favorite. I don't know why he's the only person in minus money. It makes me upset. I hope and pray that TJ Watt wins the award because Miles Garrett genuinely does not deserve it this year. And that's just my honest opinion. He is one of the best defensive players in football. He's number three or two for me. Between him and Micah Parsons. I hate Micah Parsons though. He's such a jerk. Uh, but TJ Watt is undeniably the defensive player of the year in my book. I don't think there's any way you could even argue that whatsoever. But and he's also a good dude. So I don't know. I'm really off my rocker about this. It makes me so upset. I apologize.
Well, it shocked me too when we were doing research for this, and I looked at the sports books and I saw Garrett was like a pretty heavy favorite. Uh, for the same reasoning, I think that a lot of times it, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it gets murky, and the voters go for the names that they know, and I think that the team that's associated, right? Miles Garrett is going to get, you know, much more contributed or attributed to him than is probably deserved for the season, but it's very easy for you to see Miles Garrett on a top performing defense and go, oh, well, duh. You know what I mean? I think TJ Watt had an excellent year. I think he had an amazing year. He is more than just JJ's brother. He is TJ Watt, the football player in his own right. I think that this really sets the road for him to receive this award in the next few years because he damn well deserves it. Uh, but yeah, the odds just have me in a way where I couldn't tell someone to bet against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like someone knows something that I don't,
Yeah.
and apparently they've seen something on the field that we didn't. But yeah, it's just hard to tell someone, in good conscience to bet against like a minus 550 favorite or something.
You know what this really makes me think is that this is my final analysis on this. Miles Garrett can win Defensive Player of the Year. That's fine. But TJ Watt should be in the MVP conversation as a defensive player because he was the most valuable player on his team, and he is the only reason that team was over 500. The only reason. There's no other reason except for him. He was
Yeah.
the most valuable player on a Steelers franchise that won 10 games.
they just can't accept that though. That's the
Yeah.
issue with this whole award and
So
MVP issue
stupid.
is that
Yeah.
as we were saying earlier, it has to be a quarterback. It just has to.
You're gonna, in order to get a defensive player to win the MVP award, you're gonna need a 27 sack season, 15 interception season. You're gonna need some kind of absolutely crazy for the ages year for it to happen. That's just the way the award has devolved now.
To
It's a
be fair,
quarterback's award.
I don't think 15 picks would even get you the MVP. To be honest with you.
Maybe not. You'd probably need that. You'd probably need to have like 6 sacks from a corner blitz as well before you could add to that. And of those 15 picks, probably 6 of them have to be pick sixes. Yeah. So it's
And
yeah.
they still
So
complain you didn't score enough points.
yeah. Yeah.
And they put and they play receiver and get 800 yards
Yeah.
receiving.
Yeah. But you gave up 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Yeah. There'd be some nonsense like that.
God.
All right. The next award is the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Not much debate here. We all agree that CJ Stroud, the Texans' young quarterback, should win the award, and he will win the award. Really, the best rookie quarterback season we've ever seen. And the reason the Texans were in the playoffs is because they chose well when they picked CJ Stroud number 2 overall. No, it's not like they hit gold with a 4th round pick. I mean, he was the number 2 overall pick. He wasn't a reach by any means, but Carolina Panthers probably would like a redo, but CJ Stroud future is bright, and he was a Pro Bowler at the Pro Bowl games, and he's going to add Rookie of the Year to his burgeoning trophy case, which I'm sure will be quite large by the time his career is over. A fantastic season for the young kid out of Ohio State. Any further thoughts on CJ? Or are we just we talked about him all year long. He's been phenomenal.
Feels
And
obvious.
there's nobody else. I mean, and the thing is, you had some great rookie years. Puka Nacua was fantastic, but he happened to have it in a year when CJ Stroud was around. Yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs was fantastic, but his year is overshadowed by the fact that CJ Stroud was so good. So
It's just going to be so fun to watch for a long time, and I think that playoff win against the Browns really, I think, cemented in everyone's mind and has him on everyone's radar. Sometimes if you're a fan of an NFC team, you don't really watch, the AFC stuff, but it's playoff. It was big stage. It was awesome. It was a big time win. I can't wait to see this guy next year. He's going to be fun.
and against one of the best defenses in the NFL, he still looked great. So yeah, awesome for him. All right, defensive rookie of the year. We all agree that Jalen Carter should win the award. He was phenomenal for the Philadelphia Eagles. Still annoyed that the Eagles, picking so late, were able to grab somebody as good as him out of Georgia. But we disagree on who will win the award. Well, Tommy disagrees. Both Ben and I think that Jalen Carter is still going to win the award. He should win it, and he will win it. Tommy, though, likes Will Anderson, and in Tommy's defense, Will Anderson did finish the season incredibly strong. He had a great end of the year. So, Tommy, go ahead and tell me why you think Will will take home the award.
It's really not that much. I think that awards has a lot to do with recency bias. And when you end the season strong, and with the amount of media coverage that the Texans got, I mean, the Eagles at the end of the season fell off the face of the earth. They were the butt of the joke for the last part of the season. And then the Texans were on an uprise, and the amount of social media posts that you would see about is the offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year in Houston. And I completely believe that Jalen Carter. Oh,
I'm still here.
he's still here. I fully believe that Jalen Carter deserves it. I mean, being an interior defensive lineman and getting 6 sacks is an incredible feat, especially as a rookie. It's very impressive. He's an elite defensive tackle already. But Will Anderson has just gotten too much coverage, and to be quite fair, or not even fair, it's nothing fair about it. To be quite honest, NFL awards are very political, and it's very much based on what you see the most on social media and how the fans react, and also recency bias. So I just think those two factors are going to play into Will Anderson's win.
All right. Well, we've got comeback player of the year.
Whoa.
So Who should win comeback player of the year? Well, Tommy is on the Joe Flacco train. Joe himself says I shouldn't win it because all I'm coming back for is being old and unemployed. Ben likes Baker Mayfield, who did find a resurrection to his career a year after playing for three different teams. He solidified the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and took them to the playoffs. I think it's Matthew Stafford because when the 2022 season ended and his elbow was trashed, there was a thought that Matthew Stafford may not be playing football anymore. Well, he just played an outstanding football season with the Rams this year and took them to the playoffs. So those we're all over the place here, but so I like Stafford because again, he truly looked like he was done a year ago. He looked like he was 10 years younger this year. You guys tell me about your picks. Why those two men?
I picked Baker Mayfield because we were questioning if Matthew Stafford could play football. I was questioning if Baker Mayfield should be allowed to play football. I thought this dude was a freaking dumpster fire. I was ready to call it quits on this dude. And he comes into Tampa Bay and has a better season than the GOAT. I'm sorry, what's happening? It seemed impossible. We were writing him off from the beginning and continue to write him off throughout the season. And even in the playoffs, he showed up and showed out against that terrible, depressing Eagles team. I I like Shake and Bake Mayfield. It was pretty cool. Crazy season. Shout out to him for never stopping the belief in himself because I sure as hell had zero in him.
And
That's
Joe,
that's a good point. And I guess that kind of opens up my perspective a little bit on Baker because I think my conception of Baker Mayfield last year was a lot different than everybody else's because as you guys saw on the show multiple times last year, I kind of defended him. So I guess my perspective, if I thought about it more of the other people and the other fans, a lot of people thought he was trash. I guess like to an extent that makes me feel good because I was right, but it also makes me feel like maybe, I could be going wrong on this pick, but I'm going to stick to my guns here because I mean, Baker got put into an amazing situation, right? He got blessed with some of the best weapons in football, and he also got put in an offense where running the ball just didn't exist. Rashad White comes out of the backfield, catches passes. He is a receiver at running back. So their offense was built for him to sling it, which is great. I love it. And he's also young. He still has the talent. People thought, Joe Flacco was going to find a career in like sports broadcasting. Like this dude was done. Like yeah, he was sitting on the couch. He was never going to find a job again. And then he comes out and he plays with, I think, much more limited offensive talent than both of those guys did. I mean, Matt Stafford I mean, obviously Matt Stafford is contributing to an offensive rookie of the year candidate, but Puka, I mean, you saw the draft day videos. I mean, they loved Puka. They thought he was going to be a crazy talent for them with Cooper Cup too. And then you have one of the best breakout running backs in football and a pretty decent offensive line. I mean, Stafford and Mayfield were both, I think, pretty set up for success to an extent. And Stafford also didn't start the season very hot. I talked about recency bias. Joe Flacco, I mean Matt Stafford, had a great end to the season. Joe Flacco, like even though he threw a couple picks, that dude is old as like he is so old. He is so old for a football player, of course.
isn't he about the same age as Stafford?
Yeah, well,
I'm, I'm
he's
just curious.
so I think he might be a little older than Stafford, but um, even if he is the same age as Stafford, he was sitting on the couch all season until he got called up and out of nowhere comes out of the practice squad throwing for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns every single game. It's hard for me not to pick the guy. I love him. He's elite.
Flacco is Flacco is 4 years older than Stafford.
Yeah.
Really?
So he's a Gramps
Three
quarterback.
3 years. They were. He was born in January of '85, and
Oh,
Stafford is February of '88. So yeah, it's he. Stafford will
oh,
in a
it's
week.
because he's
Stafford
not.
will turn
Yeah,
30,
that makes
36.
sense. That makes sense. I just googled their age now.
Yeah, but yeah, no. I mean, oh, I'm just realizing Stafford's actually already won Comeback Player of the Year once. He won it in 2011. I don't know if we've ever had a two-time winner of a Comeback Player of the Year. That would be quite a career arc.
That's interesting.
Okay, so that's who we think should win the award. Who do we think will win the award? Well, we're all different on who we think should versus who we think will. So, Tommy, back to your point about recency bias and Flacco coming in and saving the season as the fourth quarterback for the Browns. I think that is going to carry Joe Flacco to the win. I am also very firmly in the camp that does not want Damar Hamlin to win this award. Look, we're all very happy that Damar Hamlin is alive, but he was active for 2 games this year. He had 2 more tackles this year than I did. 2 more tackles than me does not win you Comeback Player of the Year. He does not get Comeback Player of the Year. Hey, Tommy, did you die this year? No, you did not. Ben, did you die this year? No. Did I die this year? No. We all should win Comeback Player of the Year. Look, I'm happy he's alive. It would have been awful. It would have been awful for him, his family, for Buffalo Bills fans. It would have been awful for everybody who was watching that game. It was a nationally televised game. It would have been awful for the league. It would have been traumatic for all of us had he died. Thankfully, he did not. But here we are now, 12 plus months later. We don't need to give him an award because he made 2 tackles. Stop it, America. Joe Flacco deserves this award.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kyle. God, that's a top 5 moment on the show in the history of it. I actually, the water was about to come out of my nose when you asked me if I died this year. But I just they're gonna pick Damar. And this isn't a who should win, you know? I'm just going on this is political, man. It's not the comeback bench warmer of the year. You know, it's not the comeback practice squad player of the year. The comeback didn't dress for half the games this season of the year. You know, however,
the reason he was on the roster was because he nearly died, not because he's a good football player.
There's a good chance that if nothing happened last year, he would have not have been on an NFL roster, or he would have been on a practice squad across the country. But you know, it's the NFL. The story is wonderful. I think that him coming back and being able to play professional football after something like that is incredible. However, you can't give the comeback player of the year to a guy who didn't really. He came back from life. He didn't come back to play football. You know, if there was isn't there some sort of team or significant award about influence or something? You know, there's something like that.
Yeah,
give him that. Yeah. You know, he deserves that for sure. But the comeback player of the year is just not in the description.
You know, the NBA now has their requirement. You have to play in 65 games to be eligible for a postseason award. Time for the NFL to do something similar. You don't just win an award because we feel bad for you.
You have to dress up for 12 games, which I don't think Damar Hamlin did.
Something like that, yeah.
And I picked Damar Hamlin because I thought he made the best 2 tackles this year. So
they were very impactful.
I thought they were the best.
Did you see the
NFL?
Did you see the
number 1 and number 2?
Did you see the fake punt he ran in the divisional round?
And he didn't convert it. That was the worst ever. That was so bad. They ruined the whole story.
They were trying so hard to make the biggest yes moment, and oh my gosh, that was awesome. Anyway, dude, shout out to Damar Hamlin. Scary stuff.
Cool guy.
Glad you made it.
We're happy with you with us, buddy.
Yeah.
Now pass the award over to Joe. Okay. All right. Our last award of the evening. Coach of the Year. Now, Ben is a little wishy-washy. Could not decide between Miko Ryans and Dan Campbell, so he asked me to do both. So I went ahead and mushed them together in a photo so that we could have both of them together. But it kind of works out because on one side, Tommy has D'Amico. Ben then has D'Amico and Dan, and then the other side of Ben, I have Dan. So we we've got it's like a fun little visual. I hope you're watching on YouTube.
It looks like
Uh,
Neapolitan ice cream.
yeah, it's very much like that. Yes, it's we get a little we don't feel like singing a little Ebony and Ivory with um uh, yeah, Stevie Wonder. Um, okay, so so I'm going to go with Dan Campbell, and this is why. Um, he's just changed the culture in such a profound way in Detroit, and I think there's so obviously there's a lot of talk about Ben Johnson staying in Detroit. He did not take one of these last two jobs. I was reading about how maybe the market for Ben Johnson wasn't quite as robust as we all think it was or think it should be. Not taking away anything from Ben Johnson. He's a fantastic offensive coordinator. He's done wonderful things with the Lions, and he will probably continue to have head coaching opportunities in the years to come. But I think what makes the Lions special is Dan Campbell, not his assistant coaches. And he is the guy who creates the entire environment of that team, and that team is now a winning environment because of Dan Campbell. That's why I'm giving him my pick for coach of the year. I think he should be the coach of the year because of that. Although I've talked about how much I love D'Amico Ryans over the course of this year. I don't have a problem with D'Amico Ryans also being a pick. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking because I feel like Ben's gonna be split. I want to hear both of his sides after this, just so we can get like all of the sides combined. But for D'Amico, I love Dan Campbell. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Dan Campbell, and yeah, he is that type of coach where he is the emotional coach. He teaches players outside of just technique and X's and O's. He is a rally guy. He knows how to get to the heart and the mind of the player. But I think D'Amico Ryans, as much as he's not as publicly about that, he's about that too. But he also has those X's and O's. He is like, I think D'Amico Ryans is almost the perfect head coach. He can do everything. And he, as much as Dan Campbell, like Dan Campbell's been here for what, 3 seasons now?
Yeah.
And all like it was a consistent uphill trend, right? They went from like terrible to middle of the ground, middle of the ground, middle of the pack, and now NFC Championship appearance. D'Amico Ryans as a first year head coach, first year, and not with the help of an X's and O's coordinator, which I know all of it's Dan Campbell. Like you can't,
People love Bobby Slowick.
yeah, I mean for sure, absolutely. But D'Amico Ryans is the guy. When you have like a Dan Campbell, the only reason that kind of deters a little bit from his possible winning is that his offensive coordinator is one of the most highly touted head coaching prospects in football versus D'Amico Ryans is the guy. There's no guy closing in on second place that's going to leave and go be a head coach anywhere else. And he brought a team that was the worst team in football last year, if I'm not, I mean, one of the worst teams in football last year, to being one of the better teams in football this year that could take down any opponent if they really wanted to. He completely changed everything, and he did everything Dan Campbell did in the course of one season and one off season versus Dan took 3 years, which is, and I mean, to be honest, the Houston Texans last year looked a lot like the Lions team that Dan Campbell got brought into, you know. And I think D'Amico Ryans did everything he did to bring that team back to success, only a little bit better. And that's the honest truth, in my opinion. I think Dan Campbell's incredible, though. I don't want to knock. Again, as you said about D'Amico Ryans, I would not be upset at all if Dan Campbell won the award. I'd be all for it. I just think D'Amico
Yeah.
Ryans deserves it just a little bit more.
So when you look at this Houston team a couple years ago, the landscape, even before Lovie Smith, was absolutely atrocious. What was happening was Deshaun Watson was out, and as that scandal unfolded, the organization itself went down with him, and a lot of bad news about what Houston was helping Watson get away with and shit came out. And honestly, the franchise just went to this spiral. They had one of the worst seasons you can have as a football team. Had that second pick overall, and the transformation in 1 year that Ryans has overseen has been absolutely mind blowing. Okay, because it only looks positive for Houston in this next upcoming 10 years of football. I think that Houston is preparing itself to be one of these powerhouses in the AFC. Uh, and for a minute we thought Jacksonville was getting ready to take the throne in that division. Houston has some different opinions about that, and that'll be interesting to watch as the years progress. Dan Campbell, on the other hand, he came into this team that is the equivalent of the closest things the football right now that we will get to the Cubs drought, the 100+ year Cubs World Series drought. The Lions are that team in football because it is a younger sport. There's only been 50 odd some Super Bowls, right? Uh, The Lions, Detroit is becoming a completely different city because of this Detroit Lions team. It's more than a football team that Dan Campbell has changed over there in Detroit. He's changing the city, and it is amazing to watch. It's always cool to see moments in this sport where it's bigger than just a game for a second. And to see the community. I did a show. We were talking about on the show here. I did a comedy show out in Michigan, and just I was hours away from Detroit, and everyone was getting super hyped for the divisional round game, and it was a completely different feeling, and you could tell that this was a new feeling for them, and that it was awesome. You see these clips online of people saying, "I remember when I was 7 years old." 7 years old the last time they were in the playoffs, and here I am now, and I never thought I'd see it happen again. The belief that Campbell has brought to a city, not just a team, that is the power of football. That is the power of sports. And that's why I love Dan Campbell. I love both of these dudes. I think that they're both doing incredible turnarounds on their teams. But what Dan Campbell has done for the city of Detroit, man, that is hard. That is a hard narrative to. You can't not get chills. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love both of them. The turnarounds have been amazing. I think I just talked myself into leaning on the Campbell side a little bit, but yeah, man, some great football this year, huh? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so those are the guys we think should win NFL Coach of the Year. Here's who we think will win. And so I'm actually thinking that D'Amico Ryans is going to win. I think that the voters are going to be just impressed by the fact that he's a rookie head coach with a rookie quarterback, a very young team, and the turnaround that they did to win the division and go to the playoffs. I would give it to Dan Campbell myself, but I think D'Amico Ryans will win it, and he's certainly a deserving winner. Both of you guys think that it's Kevin Stefanski. My argument against Kevin Stefanski is that I think Joe Flacco gets comeback player of the year. That's the nod that voters will give to the great season that the Browns had. And they won't give it to Stefanski because they're going to give their votes to Flacco. But who knows? Stefanski, 4 different quarterbacks that he had to juggle this year. So to get into the playoffs was a pretty impressive feat. If you guys want to go ahead and take the last couple minutes here to tell us why Kevin Stefanski is the coach of the year.
Um, for me personally, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be too upset about him winning Coach of the Year, just because I mean, you look at how that that roster was so beat up. I mean, their superstar running back that was supposed to take them to the promised land gets injured in the first couple of games of the season. Deshaun Watson, which I think that they're better off without him in many senses. He gets taken off for the rest of the year. How many defensive players got taken off the rest of the year? They were using their backup running back. They traded Donovan Peoples-Jones, and the only real like consistency they had that they could actually rely on, at least at first, was Amari Cooper, right? And Stefanski made the most out of how little he was given. And that's really what good head coaching is in the NFL, right? Like you can't rely on the star power. That's why guys like NBA comparison, guys that coached LeBron and they go and win a championship, like a Ty Lue, like a lot of those guys get head coaching jobs because they won with superstars. But then when they go to places without the superstars or their superstars get hurt, they flop. In the NFL, it's very similar. It happens a lot of the time. But Stefanski did something very rare. And when all goes wrong, he stayed level headed. He figured out a solution and they made it to the playoffs. And I respect it as much as I'm not a huge fan of the Browns. Stefanski, I think, is definitely deserving of the position as much as I think D'Amico Ryans deserves it more.
Yeah, for me, Stefanski just found a way to get it done with his roster being held together, but nothing by a prayer and duct tape. It's a lot like winning a boat race on a rowing machine. I don't know how you did it. Doesn't seem like it should be possible, but congratulations there, fella. You did. He got it done on the field more than just like a narrative standpoint, I think, is why I'm leaning this way. Because I just get wrapped up into the emotions of it. I like a good Rudy moment. But yeah, no, definitely all deserving for all three guys that we talked about.
Well, and this would be Stefanski's second win if he does in fact get it. So we know he's a good coach. He's already proven that, and he proves it again all season long. Again, yeah, so many injuries. That offensive line by the end of the year, very few of their actual starters were still around for that playoff game. But yeah, so many great players, great coaches that have had really just terrific seasons this year. It's the like this whole the NFL wanted Taylor Swift to be at the Super Bowl, so that's why because nobody's watching the Super Bowl. There's not a million other fantastic storylines that make you want to tune in to the NFL. It's the best sport in America. It's the best sport worldwide. It's the best league. That every week is a brand new reality show. You don't need Taylor Swift. She's fine. I don't mind her, but come on. This is a great league from top to bottom. There are great stories for all 32 teams. A few less for the Arizona Cardinals than others, but there's some great stories about. They're great players, great coaches. The health of the NFL has never been better. And next week, or whenever you watch, maybe you'll watch this next week. We're recording it on Thursday, February 1st. Next week, they will give out these awards, and certainly all of the people who win, minus DeMar Hamlin, will be deserving.
Kyle, I will say though, Taylor Swift has made the NFL over $300 billion. So, if it is scripted, it'd make a little bit of sense.
Well, I mean, they're doing pretty good financially, but before their television ratings were pretty good before. But yeah, L'Oreal is going to do their first ever Super Bowl commercial. There's a cosmetics firm that's also running its first ever Super Bowl commercial. Dove soap with some kind of thing. They're going to do their first Super Bowl commercial in 18 years.
Everything changes, huh?
The Taylor, and there's Taylor Swift specific prop bets. We'll get into prop bets next week, but you can bet on whether or not Travis is going to propose to her at the Super Bowl. Who mentions her name from the winner's podium? How many times they show her during the national anthem? All kinds of Taylor specific prop bets. So
my favorite prop bet is the Gatorade color.
Right now, bright or red and bright pink are the leaders. Not sure where that comes from.
I thought I saw purple before.
I think Andy got dunked on with orange last year, so we'll have to see. And since he's getting dunked again, I would assume orange is clearly on the Chiefs sideline. We'll get into that next week. We'll talk about all the prop bets, the over under on Christian McCaffrey fumbles, the over under on Brock Purdy interceptions, how many plays before Sam Darnold gets brought into the game. All those props we'll cover. We'll cover next week. Tommy is
my friend's so supportive, man.
when the 49ers win, Tommy is I'm going to hear about it for the next 17 years.
Yeah, don't worry. He'll have to wait another 17 too. Don't lose any sweat.
I had to talk to my family about it. I said this is like maybe the only time that I see them win the Super Bowl in my lifetime. So I have to have that time reserved.
Niners
you know that they've won.
Over dramatic.
They've won 5 Super Bowls, right?
He's over.
Yeah, but how many
the Niners, the impoverished Niners?
It's your fault for not getting born earlier. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'll tell my parents to meet.
Go back in time and watch the 1980s. They were a goddamn good football team.
Imagine having Jerry Rice and Joe Montana as your alumni, and you're sitting there going, "Oh man, I wish I had a good football team."
True story.
All I've ever seen of them is wrinkly and old and isn't able to play football anymore.
True story. Last night I was parking to go to dinner, and in the office building right across, there was a dude with an autographed Jeff Garcia jersey on the wall. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, and he's got an autographed 49ers Jeff Garcia autographed jersey on the wall. I love it. Jeff Garcia. Fantastic.
What a pull.
All right. Hey, that's it for us for tonight. Until next week, we're going to do all things Super Bowl. It's our Super Bowl extravaganza. We're going to pick the game, of course, but because that's only one bet, we're going to pick all the props, all the crazy props, all the team props, all the player props. We're going to have you all set up for your Super Bowl because we, as you have seen from the numbers, we're kicking ass at props here through the postseason. We are all 500 or better in our picks against the spread, and we are all in plus money right now thanks to our proposition bets. We are on a roll. We will conclude that roll next week with the big game from Las Vegas. And one of the reasons to listen to us, we actually call it the Super Bowl. All these other people, the big game, we can't say Super Bowl. Hell, we'll call it the Super Bowl all day we want. NFL, please sue us. We could absolutely use the publicity. Anyway, yes, put us on a legal header that we're saying
Kyle, I'm a college
Super
kid.
Bowl when we're not supposed to.
Man. I can't pay for these lawyer fees, man. I gotta pay my tuition.
The revenue that we bring in each week will handle that. Don't worry about
Kyle,
that.
you got me? Kyle, you got me though?
The show's got you. It's all taken care of. It's all part of our 401c.
Producer Steve's got me, man.
Yeah, Steve's loaded, man. He's loaded. Although he
rich.
You did call Lamar Jackson Christian McCaffrey at the beginning of the show there. So
yeah, it's
all right. That's all. We're just rambling on right now, and you probably want to get on to the rest of your night or day whenever you listen to this. But tune in next week for the big Super Bowl extravaganza. Until then, he is Tommy Burch in Springfield, Massachusetts. That is Ben O'Connell. He is in Chicago, Illinois. I am Kyle Garlett in Detroit, Michigan right now. I'll be back in Denver, Colorado next week. Until then, enjoy what little football you can find. The Senior Bowl. Watch the Senior Bowl. Those are going to be the NFL players of the future. And until then, happy betting.
Why can't Taylor Swift save hockey?
I suppose she could. She could. Maybe.
She should.
See you at the Stanley Cup Finals.